Well, there were some tense moments today at a Donald Trump rally in Radford, Virginia. Protesters interrupted Trump, and then there were scuffles with reporters as well, particularly a photographer and a Secret Service agent. Time magazine photographer Chris Morris says the agent choked and slammed him down when he tried moving out of that pen that reporters now have been, penned in. The Secret Service confirms one of its agents was involved. The Trump campaign issued a statement saying it's aware of the incident, but directed all questions to law enforcement. Here's video that was posted on Instagram, and we've highlighted the area where you can see the Secret Service agent with his hands around the neck of the photographer and slamming him to the ground there. We're hearing that all of this began when Trump was interrupted by about 30 Black Lives Matters protesters who were shouting about not hating and making America great by not hating. They were led out of the event arm in arm, linking arms, and when reporters and photographers tried to follow the protesters out, presumably to get interviews, the law enforcement, including the Secret Service agent there, reportedly tried to keep people inside that pen.
Say, Mr. President, get him out of here, please. Get him out. Right smack in the middle of my punchline. All right, folks, you're going to hear it once. All lives matter. All lives matter.
The protesters appeared to be with the Black Lives Matter movement, and that, of course, prompted Trump's response. After several minutes, as you saw, they were escorted out of that rally. The group has interrupted other candidates in the past, including Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. CBS News digital journalist Jaqueline Alemany was at the rally. She's on the phone now. All right, so the protesters, Jaqueline, disrupt Trump's speech. They get escorted out. Explain what was happening in the media pen.
Hey, Contessa. So I was actually sitting at the front of the pen, and I've had experiences in the past at Trump rallies of not being able to get let out of the pen when there are scuffles going on. So I just hopped over the fence from the front of the pen with my cell phone and followed these protesters out. So I'm in line with all of them as they're being very peacefully escorted out. They're chanting. They are saying, Black Lives Matter, make lives equal. That's how we'll make America great. And as soon as we approach the entrance of the press pen, the moment I arrive, I see Christopher Morris, the photographer from Time magazine, in a confrontation with a Secret Service agent. And when I get there, I see Chris alleging that he had been choked by the Secret Service agent. So he holds his hand up and imitates what's just been done to him and puts his hand up to the Secret Service agent's neck and starts screaming, "He was choking me, he was choking me." And all of a sudden, a handful of local police then come over, about, I think, 4 or 5 policemen, and they immediately, grab Morris by his arms, put him behind his back, and detain him and escort him out.
Okay, so we're seeing the video that you shot there of the aftermath. And again, we saw on Instagram someone else who was at the rally was focused on the protesters being let out and inadvertently caught that moment on camera where it does appear that the agent has his arms around the neck of the photographer and is slamming him to the ground. As you were outside, I understand that, number one, you were kept from returning to the rally by police. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I then just was worried that there was going to be another fight that was going to break out outside, and I was looking to see where they had taken the photographer that they had just carried out. So I leave the building, and then I try to go back in, and the doors are slammed on me. I'm shoved outside, and police officers refuse to talk to me or get anyone to escort me back in the building. They did this the same with other photographers and other reporters who had followed the protesters outside as well.
Are you okay?
Oh yeah, I'm totally fine. But there was people continued to protest outside very peacefully. There were a lot of Bernie Sanders supporters, Black Lives Matter protesters stuck around, and they cheered, and we listened on as a few more protesters then interrupted Trump because they had the whole rally being played on the loudspeakers for people who weren't able to get in. But just we weren't allowed back in to actually see him in person.
Can I just ask you a question about the rallies in general, because you've been out on the trail now for months, Jackie. When you're talking about the level of emotion in the rallies, and especially what's happening now with reporters being kept in this pen, not being allowed, as I understand, access to the crowds in general before and after the event ends, can you describe to me, is there a difference between the way things were, say, last summer or early last fall to how they are now?
Yeah, I think that the emotions have definitely heightened over the course of the past few months. I think that Trump some of his rhetoric has encouraged people to start retaliating to protesters. You've seen videos the past few weeks of people ripping up protester signs, pushing them, and protesters aren't allowed. They're not even allowed to be in Trump rallies. At every single rally, whenever there are first signs of a protester, Trump pauses and says, "Let's get this person out of here." This happened in Oklahoma City when there was someone wearing a KKK endorses Donald Trump shirt last Friday, and then the tension with the press has also increased, I think, and Trump sort of facilitates that tension as well. He dedicates a large portion of his stump to calling out how dishonest the media is. I think he said today that 25% of the media are sleazeballs, and 50% are just horrible. So it's a contentious situation at times.
Surely scientific numbers, no doubt, arrived at by really great polls and surveys with good statistical foundations. CBS News digital journalist Jackie Alemany, thank you so much for bringing us the story, and you're doing great work out there. Thank you.
Thanks, Tessa. Thanks for having me on.